Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and I'd like to do a complete beginner's guide for Manor Lords, shall we? Now, this is in early access. I'm filming this right at the end of April, right near the release of Manor Lords. So, because this is early access, things are subject to change as many systems in the game are a work in progress, but because the game has been released on Game Pass, Steam, even good old games, Epic Games, it's everywhere now. I thought it might be fun to take what I've learned both by playing the game myself and from amazing people in the stream who've also been playing, giving me advice, and from the developer's own beginner's guide that they shipped out to content creators. I'm going to use all of this information to create a guide to help you get into the game and enjoy it, because as this is an early access game, the tutorial isn't completely robust and everything isn't explained in full detail because that just hasn't been polished up yet. So what we're going to do in this guide is start a brand new game and we're going to play together. I'm going to just start a brand new game and I'm going to talk you through my thought process, explain the controls, the UI, the basics, some tips and tricks, and just make everything nice and clear and give an in-depth and thorough explanation of the game so that you really have all the information you need to enjoy Manor Lords at your own pace. So let's go ahead and start a new game right here. So when you start a new game, the first thing you get to do is choose the portrait of your character, the Lord, and then develop your coat of arms. So, let's go with this dude right here with the purple hat, and we will name him, Incompetent Tutor. That seems pretty good for our tutorial. And then for the coat of arms, they start you with this, but you can choose whatever you want. And first of all, up here, you get to choose like what the background would be. And, this is like, there's a different background. You can just have a regular background and then you can have this, but there is a secondary element going on here if you want to just have a real wild looking coat of arms with different symbols. I'm going to go very, very basic and we'll choose this, but I'm going to pick out something awesome. They give you some really cool choices here. So, we can pick, for example, this insane conjoined leg mutant looking thing, or this ship for reasons. I love the underpants, that's great, but why don't we just be a snail, because we're going to be playing this game at a slow pace so that everything can be explained. Lots of times with this game, you're going to see people playing at just maximum speed, and this is good for passing time, but it's not good for learning the game. So what we're going to do is just go nice and slow. We will speed up the game when we want to move it faster, but we're going to be playing a lot at a slower speed. And honestly, I think the game just looks so fantastic that playing it at a slower speed helps you enjoy the visuals and the experience. I'm changing the primary background color, and I'm going to change this symbol's color as well to be reflective of... I don't even know if this is going to do anything. Yeah, perfect. Of our channel avatar. This looks tremendous. Look at that snail. Continue. So when you're doing game setup, after you've picked your portrait and your coat of arms, you come to this screen. Now, I got to tell you what, for my Let's Play, I did the middle scenario template on default difficulty, and that's what we're going to do here. The reason I chose this middle scenario, you can choose Rise to Prosperity, Restoring the Peace, or On the Edge. And in this one, 2 territories in the north are claimed by the illegitimate Baron, whose castle is located off the map. Bandit camps reside in the other unclaimed regions. build and expand at your own pace. And then when you're ready, you challenge the Baron for the Northern Territories. Okay, so this is the one I liked because it just let you kind of build up and then go at it when you were ready. This one is what you can do if you want to just play this game as building focused without doing combat, which is totally fine. Like, if you don't want to do combat, that's cool. But I think this one will provide us with exposure to all of the game elements, but not as much combat as On the Edge, which is like more difficult, more combat. At least that's what it suggests. I haven't actually done it, but that's what it suggests. So I like this middle one. And a lot of hullabaloo has been made about how this is an RTS game and it has combat. It does have those things that I've seen, but not for a while when you start in Restoring the Peace. So let's go ahead and start here. Now, as far as the template difficulty, go ahead to change whatever you want right here if you wish. But I didn't change any of these settings. I just left them on default so that I could experience the game just kind of at normal and see what it was like. And then once I know more about the game, you can toggle these on and off. But I think that these are just fine. And then there are no other maps that you can choose right now, so we'll just use the early access map and click begin. All right, so I'm going to immediately just push the spacebar to pause the game. And here we are. This is our starting settlement. I'm going to use the mouse wheel to zoom out very quickly just to show you where we are located, which is here. Now, this is not the region of the map that I started on with my Let's Play. So it appears that this is randomized where you begin, at what section of the map you start. And you can see that there is another player who is yellow who has 2 territories up here. And this is the main regional view of the map. We are red. We can claim other regions by spending a currency called influence, which we don't have any of yet because we're just starting out. It says right here, this view shows you which regions are under whose control. You can press claims to other regions when you gain enough influence. And we can gain influence as we grow our settlement and get some more administrative structures and a church, for example. Now, this tent right here, just looking, means this is a bandit camp. So if you see these tents, those are bandit camps. Looks like we have some bandits nearby. So we're going to zoom back in by using the mouse wheel. And if you ever lose your town, you can just push T on the keyboard to go right back to your town center. And here we are. So this is where we are starting. And you can see the game is quite beautiful. We have Jacob, our ox, and we have some families here. We have a little homeless people's tents set up because we haven't built any houses or anything. So people are just kind of standing around waiting for us to give them instruction. Now, whenever you get these tutorial pop-ups, you can just click Got It to clear them off the screen. So as we start, we get this message that's right in the center, and we can't get rid of this until we read it, so let's click on it. So the victory condition for our map is dominance, which means we need to basically dominate all other players in combat. So we need to build our town up, our manor, and when they're ready, we can press claims toward regions owned by our opponents. And once we press a claim to a region that is owned by someone else, we need to fight them, so we need to be ready for battle. To do that, and we say, I'll unite these lands under my rule. So our objective with dominance is to claim all of the opponent's regions. Okay, so that's our victory condition. Now, the first tutorial that pops up says, in Manor Lords, families need food and fuel and a roof above their heads to survive. Supplies in the region panel above show how much you've got left. So you can see the icon for food is that bread loaf, fuel is the firewood symbol, and supplies are the barrel. And these all correspond to categorical icons at the top center of the heads-up display. So let's take a look at that. So if we look up at the top center, of the UI or heads-up display, there is a ribbon that runs across that has a wealth of important information for us. First of all, this center is our settlement name. And if you mouse over this, it tells you that what level our settlement is at, and we're just at Settlers Camp, which is like the lowest possible level. And if we click on this, it opens up the development screen, and it says right here, specialize your region after you reach the next settlement level, which means we upgrade the infrastructure and the facilities within our town enough to move it from Settlers Camp to the next level up. We get a development point, which we can use at any of these 4 different trees to give ourselves a benefit. So, for example, if we wanted, to be able to breed sheep, we could take this. So what this would mean is if we have sheep, then they will multiply slowly, making babies, so we could save money and get more sheep. And then this would allow you to kind of have more sheep and specialize your region. You can then, build more livestock areas and get a lot of wool, for example, if you want to go that way. But we don't have a specialization point or a development point right now. And if we want to enact policies, which we could see on this second tab, we need to have a manor, which is our first level administration building, and that'll take us a bit. So we'll talk about this more when it comes up, but the reason I'm taking you here right now is because I want to show you that you can click in the top center with this quill and rename your region if you don't like the name of it. So we're going to call this Tutorial Land. And just close it, and then there we go. So this is, actually, you know what? Tutorial Land is no good because it's just a small little thing. We're going to call it Tutorial Town. Perfect. And then we're going to just close this up. So now you can see in the top center, Tutorial Town has been changed. Now, right below this in red, you get little indicators from your people that are like, these are bad notifications or neutral notifications or just different things that you need to pay attention to. And in this case, this little tent icon with the number 5 that's in red means that we have 5 people who are homeless and they're waiting for burgage plots. So burgage plots are the houses in this game. It's like kind of like in cities, skylines, where you zone an area for residential and you build it and they put houses in that. This is like how this works, and I'll show you in a moment. But we basically need to build 5 houses for these families that we've got to boost their approval rating and prevent them from freezing in the winter. Also, if people are homeless, as it tells you right here, they are not going to be part of a militia, which we don't necessarily have or need at the moment, but we will later. Now, then let's just talk about this ribbon at the top of the screen moving from left to right. So this button with the hand and the wooden mallet is the unassigned family button. So this means that families have not been assigned any workplace to go work. In this game, Manor Lords, families are kind of like such interesting units of labor. So if you assign someone to work, you actually assign the whole family, and they all go work there. And this means that we have 5 families that are more than one person, but they're basically grouped into these different units. So we have 5 unassigned families because we don't have any jobs for them to do at the moment. We've built no workplaces or infrastructure buildings for them to actually do any labor. However, you want to have unassigned families because families without assignment will work on construction jobs that you have queued up, including guiding the ox to transport timber. So the ox right here that we see is used to move these logs around, as most buildings that you want to construct take heavy materials like logs, and people can't just pick up a log. You need the ox to move it around. So you're always going to want to have some families unassigned if you want to do construction. Now, if you have no construction that you need doing, maybe you can get away with putting no families on unassigned, but I always have at least one family unassigned because I'm pretty much always upgrading or building or doing something requiring construction. The next icon over that has the hammer and the chisel is the assigned icon. So this tells you how many families are assigned. If you add up unassigned and assigned, it just tells you at a glance how many total families you have in the region. Now, the next icon, the living space, the little house with a 0, is how many families in this region currently have access to a burgage plot. So right now, everybody's homeless, so we have 0. But if we build 5, this will show 5, and all of our people can move in. But if we build 7 burgage plots, then we have 7 houses. This number will change to a 7, and because we have only 5 families, if we have a high approval, then at a faster rate, people will come and settle here. Families will add. So if you want to get more people in your settlement, you need to have space for them. And we do that by getting burgage plots. Now, this person icon here is our total population. And this is kind of the trick where you see that there are families, but each family in this case has 2 people. So these families have 2 people, and we have 5 unassigned families, but 10 total people. And the gender of the people does matter because male citizens can be drafted into the militia, basically, whereas females cannot. Remember, this is, a long time ago. So we're playing by these kind of like patriarchal historical rules. So this is how it goes, at least right now. And this is important to see, just to get a feel for how many people you have, how many are available to be conscripted into the militia, and then what level they're at. So houses start at level 1, and then once you meet certain needs, they can be upgraded to level 2 and 3, which upgrades the people who live there and allows them to do specialized labor, for example, and provide you with more wealth. This thumbs up number is your approval, which this controls the overall population growth. So the higher this is, the faster new people will come, new families will come to settle in your region, provided you have a house or a space for them. And it also affects the morale of your militia. This scales icon is the public order. So the higher this number is, the lower your crime rate. And if this starts to go down, then crime increases, and citizens also might just turn to banditry and join the baddies, which you don't want. This is our regional wealth. So right now you start with 50 regional wealth. Now this is how much money your people actually have. Not really how much money you have necessarily, but you can use this money to upgrade people's houses with backyard fixtures that we'll take a look at, or you can import goods and such, or you can tax your people and then take their wealth and put it into your pocket once you have a manor built. This horseshoe icon just tells you how many livestock you have and how much stable space you have. So right now, we only have a hitching post, which is providing a stable space of 1. And the hitching post is right here. If I mouse over this, you could see the dashed line surrounding it, and it says hitching post on the mouse there. So we have a space for 1 ox, and that's what we have. We have 1 ox. Then over here, this barrels icon that we just talked about tells us how many months of supplies before we run out. So we have 4 months of food, but we have no firewood. We have no fuel, so we're going to need to get some fuel. Every burgage plot consumes 1 food and 1 fuel per month. However, if it's wintertime, it's 1 food and 2 fuel per month. So you need to have a stockpile so that people don't freeze or starve. Then over here on the right portion of the ribbon are indicators of how many items we have, whether it's construction materials, food, fuel, crops, crafting materials, commodities, and military gear, armor, weapons, etc. Now, currently, you can change how this displays. This little arrow that's arcing shows surplus goods, but if I click this, I can show total goods. So the difference is, for example, if I tell my people to build something that takes 4 timber, if I mouse over my construction panel right here, you can see at the top of this list, I have 8 timber. Well, if I told people to make something and it took 4 timber, if I have total goods, it would still show 8 timber, but surplus would say you actually only really have 4 timber because 4 of those timber have now been reserved for a construction job. So I like to have it on surplus to get a better view of how much extra I have instead of misallocating, thinking I have more than I do when I've actually committed those resources to a construction project, for example. So you could change that as you will, but we'll leave it right there. So they told us, what do people need? They need houses, they need food, and they need firewood. So down at the bottom of the heads-up display, you've got some buttons. You have a roads button, which you can click or push R. You have a construction button, which you can click this hammer or push C on the keyboard. Army, which is the cross swords, or V. The map, which you can push M to get to, or you can zoom way out, or you can click on this. And then you can always click on the help, which is very useful, the question mark, and then the game settings. In the upper right is our picture and information about our treasury, our royal tax, our king's favor, and our influence, but none of those really matter as we start out because we don't have anything. Those accrue over time. In the bottom right, you can see that it is March. There is an indication of what time of year it is, and then if you mouse over this, it gives you a breakdown of like what's happening in this period. So it's frequently raining because it's spring, and seasonal deposits regrow. So what are seasonal deposits? If I zoom out a little bit, we can see if we have any in the region, and we do. Seasonal deposits are berries and wild animals, for example. Well, wild animals, I guess, are always regrowing. These always regenerate, but berries regenerate each year. So there's no berries, for example, in the winter, but there are berries that start growing in the spring and persist until it gets too cold for them. And then we also have some other deposits here. We've got clay, we've got iron, and we have some stone all the way over here. So I'm just going to push T to go back to our settlement and then zoom in with the mouse wheel. Then the other thing I'll tell you is that you can change the game speed. Now, I push spacebar to pause it. It's been paused this whole time because I do not want time to pass while I'm explaining everything, but you can then click the play button and speed it up to ×4 or ×12. Now, you can also use spacebar to pause and then Z and X on the keyboard to speed or slow down the game. So you could speed it up by pushing X, or you could push Z to go down, which in this case would pause it. And that's enough explanation of just the UI. Let's start building stuff. So I'm going to push C to bring up the construction menu. Every region in Manor Lords has strengths and weaknesses. It says be sure to check all the resource deposits, which we just did, as well as investigate the soil fertility before deciding on the direction of your town. If your region has weak fertility, consider setting up trade early. So what they're telling you basically is wherever you start in this game, it's going to determine like what your town can do. So if you're in a region that has particularly fertile soil, for example, maybe you want to really focus on farming, build a lot of fields, do a lot of farming. If you don't have fertile soil, well, you're going to need to get food in another way. So maybe you need to set up trade and produce something that's valuable to sell so you can buy and import food. It all depends on what we've got. So you'll see when I click on construction, in the bottom center of the heads-up display, this little construction panel opens up with different things that we can build. However, also in the middle right edge of the screen, this overlay panel comes up. Now, currently we have no overlay, but if you wanted to check what we have fertility for example, well, you could say, well, you know, do we have emmer fertility? Flax fertility, and in this screen, green means the most fertile, and as you get up from red to orange to yellow to green, you are increasing in fertility. So you can see how there's the plus icons on the ground in yellow. That means like good, reasonable. Minus means not great, bad. Double minus means terrible. So let's see if we can find any green so I could show you what the shift in that would look like. Here we go. So rye. So right here you see how there's this like kind of medium green, double plus, and then this right here is triple fertility for rye. So we can really, really grow rye in our region, so we might want to consider that, for example. Also, underground water. You want to see where the water is. This tells you where you can build your well, for example. But right now, we're fine with just no overlay because we want to build houses. So once you open up the construction panel, this is telling you it defaults to gathering resources. So a logging camp, for example, so we can get people to get logs for us. And these are all gathering resources. Woodcutter's Lodge, which allows people to actually process chop down trees into firewood, so that's fuel. A saw pit, which turns timber into planks. You need planks for more advanced buildings. A forester's hut, which allows you to replant. If you just have a logging hut and you start chopping down trees, you will deforest the area. You will start to just see like, oh, this whole forest has been, completely cleaned out. So you will want a forester's hut at some point to start replanting. Then we've also got a hunting camp, which allows workers to hunt wild animals to produce meat and hides. Meat, obviously, people eat that for food. Hides, you can turn into leather in a tannery, which then people can use to do things like make clothing, for example. A forager hut will allow our people to go gather these berries that are over here. And you can mouse over the berries, and you see how when I mouse over this berry icon, it says it's a berry deposit. It's seasonal, which we talked about, which obviously it's not in the winter. The green arrow that says growing means it's filling in. It's the springtime, and this will come up to full flavor in the summer, I believe. And I guess when I say full flavor, I mean full capacity. But, they're flavorful. They're nice and delicious. They're ripe. And it can go up to have 64 berries. But it's not there right now. Currently, it only has 8 because they're just coming in. So those are all the different things that we can build that are gathering facilities. But you see how at the bottom portion of the construction panel, there are different icons. There's mining, logistics, and what we want is residential. So these little houses. This is where we can figure out how to build, for example, burgage plots to make it so our people aren't homeless, and a well to provide water for everyone. In Manor Lords, if you build a well and it is appropriately built, it provides water to everyone, and there's no limit on it. However, the further it is away from people, people have to travel to it, so they will be prevented from doing labor and stuff because they will be like walking to the well. So you do want it close by, and you need to consider strategically trying to locate it close to your people. And I've actually built more wells in my settlement once it starts getting bigger to give people easier access to food. You can also build a marketplace, which we will need to build soon. And the marketplace is kind of like everyone brings their wares from their gathering or production facility and offers them up to the community. So what people do here is just kind of go get stuff. So like they will have a food stall where they have extra berries and meat and stuff, or they will have a fuel stall where the firewood is, and people can come gather things at the marketplace. And somebody has to work that stall who is a family member at that facility. You can build a tavern, which we will build later. This is required to move from tier 2 to tier 3 houses. And you could build a church. This, as you can see, it takes planks. When you mouse over anything, it tells you what the construction cost is. It tells you nicely what it does. So the church also provides hallowed ground, which allows you to bury dead villagers. And you could build a corpse pit to bury raiders if you don't want to put them in consecrated land. Then there's a farming tab where we can set up building fields and the processing of fields into flour and baking flour into bread. We have a sheep farm where we can have sheep and collect wool, for example. There's an industry tab, a trade tab, an administration tab, and the cosmetic tab, which doesn't have too much in it at the moment. But again, what we want is the residential tab. We'll look at the other tabs when they're relevant. The first thing we do is select a burgage plot. Now you'll notice how there's this square icon in the upper right corner of the burgage plot. That means it's a flexible plot. Now this kind of threw me when I was first playing the game. It has this tutorial that pops up. It tells you some buildings have flexible borders. Place 4 points to designate an area. The cursor will snap to roads and buildings to try to create an organic shape. You can leave more space for future extension upgrades. The first 2 points mark the front of the house by default. So you could see in the video, this is like they're kind of building stuff and rotating it and committing it and stuff like that. So this is kind of like building a zoning area in City Skylines, for example. But actually, I'm going to right click and cancel this because what I want to do is build a road. And you see this road that's already here. This is the King's Road. So if you look at your map, you can see the King's Road already penciled in. On the map, it's displayed throughout all the regions. And our region has a King's Road kind of going over here and over here. And you want your settlement to connect to the King's Road so that it can be accessible by traders. You don't have to do this early, but I like to, just to provide a direction for my town. So I'm going to build a road. Some workplaces allow villagers to use hand carts to transport up to 10 goods at once. And this is true. You'll see your villagers pulling these things. However, pulling a handcart off-road is extremely slow, so make sure to connect your buildings to roads, which is true. Now, the cool thing about roads is, at least as far as I understand it, and I know this is early access, they don't take any resources to build. So I'm just going to connect my road, and it will snap to it. Like, if I mouse it over, you'll see it snap to the road, and I push R, or left-click rather. R, it just brings up the road building. And then my anchor point has been set on the road, and now I could just drag my mouse around and build the road. And you could see it. And these little circles are snap points for the different places I already have built. So, for example, I've got this hitching post that's been built. So if I click here, then it's saying, okay, I will build a road from the King's Road to this snap point on your hitching post. And I can click build like that, and it just goes in. And it's built instantly. You don't have to have people do that. It just comes in. Then I'm going to build a road that kind of goes here, and I want it to go around like this. Okay, and you can see that it is now going right by our little camp, around our hitching post, and over here to these supplies. And I'm going to try, if I can, to build a road, but I can't build over my border right now. So I'm going to build the road like this for now and just terminate it there. We might do more with it later. And then I'm going to build a road that goes here to this supply portion. And this is important because you see how all of these heavy supplies are here, this timber. This won't permanently be where our supplies go, but while it is, I want people who are moving things around to drag or use the oxen or any cart or any transport on the road. Now, it might not be necessary for oxen, but I like it anyway. Okay, so now what we're going to do, once we've built some roads, the reason I built roads is because I want to build houses that are right along the road. However, before I build houses, I want to make sure I have a well. And I see, honestly, that there is no water over here. So even though I have this road, which looks good and is cool, without having any water, the houses aren't going to necessarily flourish the way that I want. So you want to build a well that's over the blue, and you'll see that, like, I can't build it here, but as long as it's close to this underground water, it's good to go. And it does not need to be in such a way that it is It doesn't matter like 100% over, it provides better water or anything like that, at least to the best of my knowledge. So I think as long as it's white and you can build it, you're good. Now, if you want to build it, you can hold left click and then drag it around if you want to like rotate this or whatever. And I'm going to rotate it like this. And then I'm going to click it again. And it says unassigned families work on construction automatically, which is true. They do that. So I'm going to say got it. And then right click away. And it says timber transportation. Timber requires oxen to be moved. Villagers will automatically get the ox when they need it. So the ox is just sitting here. We have a few things that have been pre-built for us. The homeless people's tents. If I mouse over this, you can see the dashed line. The hitching post, this circular dashed area. The supplies here and here. These will get cleaned up once we build better storage facilities, which we need to do because things degrade if they're exposed to the elements. Certain items do. But this means they will go get this whenever they need it. So they're going to go ahead and get the oxen, for example, to build this well. Now, outside of that, I'm going to start building houses. I know the well is going to be right here. Even though it hasn't been constructed, the area has been claimed and you could see where it's going to go. So what I want to do is build houses close to the well. And I'm doing a lot of like prep, but I want the road to kind of go like this. And maybe even go back around like this. But for now, having a road go around and go near the well is just fine. And it provides an outline. The reason I'm doing this is so that I can build houses in a way that people have road access and people have water. So once I've done that, I'm going to build a burgage plot. And I'm going to build my first anchor point. And you see how, as I drag the second one, there's a little arrow that's, as they said in the video, this demarcates the front of the plot that we're penciling in. And this means that it will face the road, which is what I want it to do. Now, I could have them all face this way, which is actually not a bad plan considering that the well is over here. So instead of doing what I did, let's go ahead and build it right here and just see what happens. So I'm going to click this, and then I'm going to make these pretty large houses like so. And then once I have it like this, you'll notice as I drag the final point, all of these houses, this area is getting split into 3 burgage plots with the availability for 3 backyard extensions. But I would like them to be slightly larger than this, or I can do it this way. Which you'll see the different icons that pop up. If I do it this way, I can expand these houses to hold a separate family, but I would only have 1 backyard plot. If I move it over here, I could have 3 houses, 2 with backyard extensions, 1 without, and then this is 3 with 3 backyard extensions. And even if I move it way over here, it doesn't really change anything. Now, if I were to drag it like this, I could actually make 2 houses with 2 backyard extensions, which is okay, but I'm instead just going to right-click to cancel this because I want to try something else. I'm going to go to my road, and I'm going to build a road that connects to the existing road, and I'm going to kind of put it like here and just make this a little wider. And then I'm going to go to construction, and I'm going to go to burgage plot. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go really, really far over. And then I'm going to go back here, and you'll see that I can't actually build this right now because I don't have enough lumber. But even though I can't build it, I can get a feel for what I can construct here. And this would be 3 houses and 3 extensions, which I actually like. But if I do this, okay, I will be in trouble. Now, why would I be in trouble? The reason I'd be in trouble is because although I want to build a house to get people in a home, If I use all my lumber, I do not have enough lumber to build a gathering facility for them. So I want to do that, but I'm doing this just so I can get an idea of where I build my houses and how they're looking. And so I can fit this right here and get 3 houses with 3 home extensions and 3 backyard extensions built in. And I like this, even though it's not like perfectly straight and rectangular. If I do it rectangular, yeah, they're all in a row, but there's no home extensions, which there's pros and cons to that, but I like it because you can eventually get an extra family in the place of one, which is nice. However, as we'll talk about, it becomes more complicated if you upgrade the house and you want them to specialize in labor. Then I believe the house can only have 1 specialization, so you limit your ability to diversify if you do that. But if you build different housing types, you can mitigate that as well. So before we do anything, even though they're homeless and they're unhappy, you just have to deal with their unhappiness because we just started. And I'm going to go over to gathering, and I'm going to get a logging camp thrown in. A logging camp is enormous, okay? And you want this built in a place that's close to trees to minimize how far they have to walk. Now, they're going to chop down trees, so trees are going to start disappearing, but this is good. You also want it close to where they live so they don't have to walk a far distance from their home to the logging camp. But you'll notice how if I build it here, it looks perfect. But if I move it over, you see how it says trees uprooted for construction? We don't want to do that. I actually don't know if you get to use the trees that have been uprooted as a resource or if they become wasted. But generally, I don't like to uproot trees if I can avoid it. So I'm going to build it right here. And I'm going to get that penciled in so that we can get a logging camp in. So now we have a logging camp in place. And I'm going to then, let's see. You know what we should do is just build a road that goes maybe here and then here. So now we have this road that kind of goes over here, which allows us to build a burgage plot here, and that family we can assign to logging. So I'm going to go ahead and unpause the game for the first time and get my people doing jobs. There's a lot of construction that I've just told them to do. So you could see that Jacob here is going to flatten the ground so that we can build the well. And, you know, Anna and Friedeline are going to start working so that they can clear out the space for the logging camp. And everybody is working now, so nobody is idle. And you could see that the ox, Ditz here is guiding Jacob. Oh, do I have 2 people named Jacob? Do I have a human and an ox named Jacob? Or was I just looking? Yeah, I do. That's hilarious. Boy, what are the chances? Jacob's like, it's terrible being named after the ox. But you could see the ox starting to gather the timber that we need for this logging camp, right? So it will get it there and deliver it so that all these people can produce the logging camp. Now, the well is getting built here. You can see how everybody is working. And this is just what I love about Manor Lords. Check out how amazing the animations for everything are. It's such a beautiful game. And right away, you could see, I'm going to pause it, they're starting to throw in the logging camp. They're building this structure here. And in the bottom right corner, we're getting this tutorial. It says, in almost all cases, resources in Manor Lords have to be physically moved. It can take a moment, so feel free to change the game speed if you feel like it. Game speed controls are in the bottom right. So, for example, they're building, if I wanted to push X, I could speed them up 1 level, and I could push it again to really, really make it go fast. But I like to play, okay, and I'm going to pause it at a reasonable pace because I honestly like to watch it, and I'm not always fast enough to queue up actions. But once I have everything queued up and everything is done and I'm just waiting, then I'll speed it up. So this logging camp is done. It says this building has no assigned families. Select it and assign a family whenever you'd like to start production. Okay, so now that this has been built, while human workforce has to be assigned, by default, livestock workforce is shared between workplaces. So this means that any place that needs the ox will use it, and some family member from the workplace that requires the ox or the construction site will go get the ox. So this means that even though, for example, on the hitching space, I can assign a family to this space, I don't believe I need to, because people will get this automatically. Maybe if I get more livestock, but as of now, I haven't seen a complete benefit to assigning a family here when you only have one ox. So I'm not going to put anybody there. I'm going to say got it, and I'm going to click on the logging camp. So once you've built a facility, this logging camp shows you these screens. So in general, it just tells you you can fit 3 families to work here. There's nobody here. And here's how many logs are currently being stored within the internal storage of the logging camp. So if I assign a family, I can push this plus button, and now a family is automatically assigned to this job. Later, once we have houses built, we can more directly assign people, but right now it doesn't matter. I'm just going to assign 2 families to do logging because we need logs. And that is a fantastic start. So now we have logs being collected. So if I mouse over our construction, you see we have 5 timber left, and logs are being collected. This is good. I'm also going to start building some other stuff. What else do we want? Okay, well, we've got logs coming in, but if I mouse over, by the way, when you're in construction, it's kind of tricky, but it changes your display to all construction materials. But if you right click, then you can see your every single type of good. So for food, I have 20 bread. This will last us a long time. It's hard to get your head around units. I'm still learning it in this game, but remember, people take food. Each family, I think, takes 1 food per month. So we have a good amount of food. As it says, we have 4 months of food because each family is eating 1 food. So we have 5 families, so 4 months of food. So that's a good amount, but we want more. So I'm going to go to construction, and I'm going to start getting some food in. So do I want to build a forager hut or a hunting camp? I'm going to build a hunting camp. The reason I'm going to build a hunting camp is because I want food and I want hides. So I'm going to put this hunting camp over here. And I'm putting it here because this red area is the area where the wild animals are. Now, you can't build your hunting camp in the area because you see how it says overlaps animal habitat. This will cause the wild animal spot to migrate. So we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to build it just over here like that. So it's close to this. And then I will say, okay, what else are we building? Nothing at the moment. So let's get that going. And I'm not going to build anything until this gets built. And I'm going to speed it up. I'm going to push X. And you can see now that they are doing some transportation work of getting stuff over to the logging camp. And what are they doing? Why are they doing that? Well, what they're doing is this little supply area is just like your starter supply area. And they want to get goods out of these as soon as possible. So they're actually taking logs to the logging camp because it can hold logs. So they're moving it to the internal storage there. Now, we'll build a better storage facility soon, but that's what they're doing. That's why they're moving them in that direction. All right, so they're building the hunting camp, and at any time, if you want, you can mouse over your goods to see how many timber you have. Now, sometimes, by the way, it can be tricky to see how much timber we have because it says we have 5, but let's look at this. We have 2 in the internal storage, and we have 3 over here, and they use some of our timber to build the hunting camp, so that is a correct reflection of our timber. All right, they finished the hunting camp, and right away, what I'm going to do is set some people on the hunting camp. Now, I showed you the general tab at a building. Let's look at the general tab on a different building, talk about that, and then look at some of the other tabs. So I'm going to put a family there. I'm just going to push plus, or you can push E to assign a family. Now this hunting limit means that when the population of the herd drops to this number, workers will stop hunting. What this does is prevents you from over-hunting an area. So you can see how there's, in this area, there's 19 wild animals. If I were to hunt all of them, then there'd be no wild animals, and my region would no longer have a wild animal area. I don't know when they repopulate or if it would move or what would happen, but I always just set this number to 10 so that I don't overhunt. So I have a family doing this, and they have generic storage and they have pantry storage. Why do they have two types of storage? Well, because pantry is for food, so they have meat that they're going to get, and then generic storage would be the hides that they gather. You can also click on the People tab to see what family is here. If you want to reassign them now to a different workplace, you can do that. And then the Advanced tab allows you to limit the work area. So I'm not going to do anything, but for example, if I didn't want them going very far, I could clear the work area, and then I could draw my own area to make them only work within a certain radius, for example, if I wanted to do that. So you have some more control. I'm not going to mess with it for now. I'm going to just push spacebar and unpause the game so that they can start getting to work. All right, so now I still have 5 timber, and you can see that this person is going out to hunt. So we're going to start getting some food in that way. So what do we have? Well, we have some timber, we have a well, and we have a hunting place. So we're taking care of some of our basic needs. However, there are some other things that we need. So I'm going to click Gathering. We're definitely going to need a woodcutter's lodge. So I'm going to build a woodcutter's lodge, and I'm going to put it as close as possible to the logging camp. And the reason I'm doing that is because, there we go, we want the logs to have to move a short distance over to the woodcutter's lodge. So then I'm going to just go ahead and get this built. You can see right away someone is taking the ox, and they were already going to be putting it there, but I could start moving it here, and yep, they've delivered the one piece of timber that they need, and then they're building the woodcutter's lodge. We need the woodcutter's lodge to make firewood so that we have fuel. You can see right here we have 0 months of fuel stored up. Now, we have 20 firewood, so this isn't necessarily helping us, but we're not consuming any fuel. The reason it says no consumption is because you don't actually use fuel in these homeless people's tents. They are not warm. So this is why people can freeze to death in these tents. But if you build them a house, they will start using fuel. And we're going to start doing that in a moment. I want to just make sure I have enough timber. But I want to build in the basic structures first to get our needs met. And you can see night and day passing. And I paused the game. It says exposed goods pantry and exposed goods generic storage. Now, what does this mean? This means that we don't have a storehouse and we don't have a granary. They're just putting stuff outside that we have surplus of, which is terrible. So we need to build these structures. So I will. So we're going to go to construction, but we're going to go to logistics and the crate icon. In the logistics panel, we can build a granary and we can build a storehouse. We can also build another hitching post if we want and a pack station, but we don't need those right now. I'm going to go ahead and build a granary, and you want this located in a place that's pretty central. You want to try to make like all of your town stuff close to the middle if you can. So I will build this here. Now this takes 2 timber, but it also takes 10 stone. So just pay attention to that. Now, we started with 10 stone, so that's okay. But if I build a storehouse, it only takes 2 timber. And I'm going to build the storehouse currently right here, just in the middle. Okay. So now I've got those structures penciled in to be built. All right, so let's speed it up and get them to finish these storehouses. And, okay, they finished the Woodcutter's Lodge. Beautiful. Look how awesome this Woodcutter's Lodge looks, by the way. It's got, like, moss on the side here. You know, this is people just chilling, making firewood all day long, stacking it up under this sweet little shed. Awesome. Now, I don't have anybody assigned to it at the moment because I'm focusing on acquiring timber. I'm using timber at a pretty rapid pace to build all of these working facilities, but you can see if I click on the hunting camp, there's some items here in the generic storage, and I'm thinking that that's probably a hide. You can see them like over here skinning the animal, and this, oh my gosh, I mean, look at this game. This person is like dragging in a deer that they have killed, and when we let's see. You can watch this. Yep, there's a hide down here, and then now they have some meat. So they have a carcass, but they're just transitioning that. Family requires. Oops! It just told me more market area for their stall. So what this means is this family wants to distribute the goods that they have, the meat, for example. But there's no marketplace. So I'm going to make one. You see how this area right here was a supply zone, but it's not anymore? I'm going to go to construction, and I'm going to go to... No. Residential marketplace. And I'm just going to draw in a giant marketplace right here. Here, let me see if I can fit it. The hitching post might be in my way. Darn. Here, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to click the hitching post, and I'm going to move it. So you can relocate the hitching post for free. So I'm just going to move it so that it is... up here, maybe, or, well, it's in a good spot. I was just really hoping to put the marketplace like right there in the center of the town, but it doesn't look like it wants to go right there easily. You know what this, though, this little supply storage right here, you can't move it. It's just temporary, so it'll get crushed eventually. So what I'm going to do is actually just build a really small marketplace. That is wild. No, I don't want to do that. Okay. This doesn't take anything to build. It's just like zoning it. And a well-supplied marketplace is the lifeblood of your town. Assigned families will set up stalls automatically as long as there's enough space on the market. Hover over specific categories to check your current supply and demand. Burgage plots closest to the markets get their markets requirements filled first. So this means like the house that's closer gets their stuff fulfilled for their requirements to level them up and keep them satisfied. That will become more important later. But for now, I'm just building almost like a temporary marketplace until this supply zone gets emptied out and we can shuffle things around more efficiently. Where can I move this thing? Oops. Maybe... I mean, I could put it over here, but it seems like it would just have to walk too far. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to move the hitching post as close in here as I can. Like this. And I'm going to rotate it so that there is a road access point like that. And then I'm going to... Oh, well, that'll be there just for a moment. I'm going to connect a road like that. There we go, to the hitching post. And then as soon as they're done, we got a new message that says, I have heard of your renown. I only seek to defend my rights and my honor against those who would wrong me. I hope you will not judge me by the rumors and slanders that some may spread about me. This is signed and sealed by my own seal, Hildebolt von Baron Root. We can write back and say, something like this, like you have no rightful claim, if we want. And this guy is Hildebolt von Baron Root. By the way, I'm pronouncing it horribly. So what do I want to do here? Well, who is this guy, right? The only thing I could say to him right now is I need money. Your time has come if I want to declare war. Or I can just say something, that takes no influence, which is like you have no rightful claim to these places. So I'm going to actually close this and see that this guy, the yellow player, is Hildebolt. And I can just start to give him the word, like you have no right to that if I want. Actually, I think maybe pushing escape out of that to just show you where he was on the map may have forfeit my opportunity to say anything. But as far as I know, it doesn't really do much. We're going to come to blows with that guy probably anyway because we're on a dominance victory, so we've got to beat him. So it doesn't really matter. We can just ignore him. Okay. So I'm going to speed it up. And once, they're going to flatten this ground and move this out. And then I'm going to redefine the marketplace. You can see they're building the storehouse. So you can see right here, my approval is going down because people are homeless. So, that's a problem. But we're going to start solving that problem. Storehouse done. They've delivered the log for the hitching post. They're building a marketplace. Food stall done. So what this means is you can see that this food stall has been built at the marketplace, and eventually they'll come over here and they will offer meat. You can see there's food, there's meat that's available that people can eat, and that will help make them happier. So they're working on the granary. And you can see, she's taking food over here. Or, no, these are supplies, rather. It's stone. It looked like food. She's picking up stones. Oh, my God. It's a backpack full of stones. Oh, what a job. There we go. Hitching post done. And we want these supplies to be moved out of here as soon as possible so I can get this area for my marketplace. Please grab that. Please get it. Yes, they took it out. Okay, so now I'm going to take this marketplace, and I don't know if I can redraw it or not. I can destroy it. I can pin it. What if I go to construction, marketplace, and, can I... No. Okay, so I'm going to need to destroy this marketplace. This is sad, but basically what I have to do is just demolish this. I will get my construction cost refunded. Unfortunately, it doesn't take anything to build this, but unfortunately I couldn't just add on to my existing one. I wasn't sure what they would do there, but I want this to plot to here, to plot to here, to plot there. And now if I build my marketplace like this, you see how it says available market stall locations? This means that we can fit 12 market stalls. I can actually build it to here and fit 14. Perfect. So this is a huge market. This is way more than we need, but we can grow into it. So we'll just leave it here. Perfect. And let me just see how much timber I have. Okay, I have 11 timber, which is now enough to start building houses and make people so they're not homeless. So I'm going to build like we talked about. I can build like this. I'm going to actually do this. Let's see what I can get if I just build like this. Okay. I am going to build this way. This is just 3 regular houses, just like that. They can have a backyard extension, but not a home extension. And then over here, I'm going to do my best to build this in a way that we can get some extensions. Yeah, that's 1, but I want more. Aw. Well, let's see. Maybe then... This is it. I'm going to build it just like this. 2 houses, 2 extensions. So this gives us a variety pack. What this means is we'll have 3 houses that cannot be extended except backyard extensions, and 2 houses that can. This variety allows us to keep some specialization for these homes and also take advantage of these bigger plots to get more families built in place. Okay. So the food stall has been replaced, and now they're putting in houses. You can see if I mouse over my supplies, I have 1 timber, 10 stone, 10 tools, but honestly, this is just plenty. I have 2 families that are unassigned, 3 that are doing labor, 1 hunting, 2 getting wood. We'll start redistributing this in a moment, but I want 2 families unassigned so that we can build quicker. You see we're losing more to homelessness within the last 30 days, so once we build these houses, people will increase their happiness, which is what we are looking for. All right, we did it. We finished the first house. So homeless will move into the plot, and if approval is high enough, it may attract new families too. However, families need more than just space to be happy. Click on the building to check their residential requirements. So here's a couple of things I want to say right off the bat. Number 1, if I click on this tent right here, if you upgrade this to a workers' camp, okay, do not do this. I did this because I thought it was just better. You see how it says best suited as worker accommodation for outposts? That is true. If you upgrade the homeless people's tents to a workers' camp, what happens is people will stay there and not move into empty houses, and then you won't be able to upgrade them to level 2 houses, make them happier, collect wealth from them, and it's not what you want. I had to actually destroy mine and make houses to get them out of there. They will never move out. So if you leave it at a homeless person's tent, though, homeless people's tent, they will move out as soon as a house is available. And what we want to do is make enough houses so that everybody moves out of here and then destroy this to get it off of the map. Do not upgrade it. I did that. I thought it would be better. It is not for your starter town. So don't do that. Now, the other thing is click on this burgage plot. And now we have the house panel. This tells us what the requirements are. So right here, I could upgrade this to level 2, but it says requirements are not met. So what are the requirements? Well, they need water access. You could see this diamond is filled in because they do have water access, the well that we built. We don't have a church, so they have no access to a church. They also don't have access to fuel market, fuel stall, food stall, or clothing stall. And they need... You see where it says food stall and there's 2 diamonds? They need 2 different types of food. So we're going to need to get berries and meat, for example, to get 2 types of food, or bread and meat, whatever it is. They don't have access to this yet because there's no food here that's been moved from the hunting camp. It needs to get moved over there. Nobody is doing that right now. But it actually, if I understand this correctly, it moves from the camp to the granary to the food stall. So we need somebody working at the granary to actually go get this food and move it, or these people might get it once it gets filled, but it'll take longer. So that is the kind of process for how this will happen. Now, additionally, if I click on the house, you can see that in the upper right, it says construct a backyard extension. And you can click on this and we can build a vegetable garden, we can build a chicken coop, or we could build a goat shed. All of these are amazing, but I don't want to do it just yet because I think I want to save my wealth for something else, like buying sheep or something. But I'll tell you this, if you purchase a vegetable garden, people will grow vegetables in their backyard. It takes them time to do it. It says requires plowing and harvesting labor. So they will spend some of their day doing this, but then you will get another food type, vegetables, that will just come in. So it's really, really good. And the yield depends on the plot size. As far as I understand it, this is the only backyard improvement that matters how big the plot is. The bigger the plot, the more vegetables you get, but the longer it will take your peasants to work it. If you build a chicken coop or a goat shed, it doesn't matter how big your backyard is. You get the same amount of hides and eggs. And these do not require labor to do. I think the animals are just out there, and it's minimal to get the eggs and the hides. The garden is more intensive as far as I understand it. But I could build those, but I'm not going to at the moment because I might want to save my money. So we're just going to speed it up and let them continue to build. So they're going to go build the next house. Now, I'm going to keep an eye on my timber. The reason I'm doing that is because... Oh, okay, no. Family members join. It says family members join one of the settlers. But what that means is basically we didn't get an extra family. We just had a family move into this house. So if I click on the people tab, you could see that this family right here is at this house. And they're woodcutters, which is actually good because... Well, wait a minute. How are you woodcutters? That means you're logging, right? Yeah. Okay. So I could check them, actually. Here they are right here. This is the family. So a really cool feature is you can click on any building, and you can click on people, and it draws these arcing lines to show you where the people from that house are. So, like, one is inside the house, and then two are doing... labor. And then you could click on this work site and then click on the people tab, and then it will show you like where all of the laborers are for that work site. So this means that they have a short distance to go to work, so that's a good place for them to live. All right. Now, to go back to my point about keeping an eye on timber, the reason I'm doing that is because in this game, I have found that you actually have to manage the labor pretty quickly. Sometimes we're like, okay, I have 2 families right now at the logging camp. Once I get enough timber, once I get, let's just say 10 timber stored up, and I'm looking at surplus, so this will be 10 surplus, I'm going to assign them to a different job. I no longer need 2 families getting wood. I just needed a lot of wood, like right at the beginning. But for now, then, you can see my fuel is actually going down. Why is it going down? Because people are in here. They're in the burgage, and they are burning firewood now to keep themselves warm. So this will make them happier eventually, but it is going to take us fuel. So as soon as I get a surplus of 10 logs, I'm going to put one of the families over to the woodcutter's lodge. I'm going to keep 2 unassigned for now, so because I have a lot of jobs that need to be built. I want to get all these houses in. We have 8 timber, 9 timber, 10 timber. So now I'm going to go to people, and I'm going to take this family right here. Like I could see where Fritz is. He's over here, for example. And I'm going to actually click reassign them to the woodcutter's lodge. And so they have now been moved to this job. What this means is they will start producing firewood so that we don't run out of firewood. Now when I mouse over supplies, you can see I have food for 6 months and fuel for 8 months. And we now have 3 houses built. So we are at the point when we've got the makings of our settlement. We've connected to the King's Road. We're hunting. We have the 2 major storehouses built. We have a regular storehouse, and we have a granary for food. We are getting all of our people out of the homeless people's tents into burgages. We have a logging camp going. We have a woodcutter's lodge happening for firewood. We have a well built as well that is close to our people. We have some roads mocked in, and we've built houses with room for home extensions and backyard plots, and then just regular burgages here. So this is a great start to our settlement in Manor Lords. If I could give you one last piece of advice before we move on to the next episode, and yes, by the way, this is going to be a beginner's guide series. There is a ton to explain in this game, so we're going to need to do a full series to go through everything so that I can explain in complete detail how to do everything so you understand the game in a thorough nature. And if I could give you one piece of advice, do not build too quickly. You see how I'm doing everything in a measured way. I'm not overextending. I'm not assigning all of my people to jobs. I'm not building every structure. Build nice and slow and gradually, meeting the basic needs: firewood, food, shelter, water. Then start to build storage structures. Make sure you have nice logistics with roads and things like that. And then start to build some empty burgages so you can have more people move in. We're going to need to start gathering berries to get even more food of a variety of types, because you can see right here, we're done hunting. We've already hunted the wild animals. So these people have produced a ton of meat and hides for us, which is amazing, but they're not going to be giving us that food anymore. The berries are now full, so we need to start getting those, and we will do that in the next episode. Everyone, I hope you have found this first episode of our Complete Beginner's Guide to Manor Lords to be useful and fun. Please post any questions you have in the comments below, and if you've been playing Manor Lords and you want to share any additional advice for new players or make any corrections to the comments that I've given, that would be fantastic. Just do so in a way that is beginner friendly. Remember, these are people who have never played Manor Lords before, are either looking to play or just got the game and want to dive in. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'll check you in the next episode of the series. Take care.